Welcome everyone, it's me LinkingX2 back again with more daily MSI content. Today, on the third day of the Rumble stage, we will see the Korean versus European face-off in Down1 Gear versus Mad Lions. So yeah, they're both tied in score, right behind RNG, and now they're playing against each other to see who can secure the second place. So yeah, let's look at the draft of this face-off to determine who has the edge for their first face-off here. So yeah, getting right into it here. We see it's muted for now. So yeah, we see the Thresh ban here versus Kaiser. This is something we have seen quite a bit versus Mad Lions. So in terms of the spring split, Kaiser has not played all too much of the Thresh, but this is probably something that has come up in scrims. And overall, Thresh is quite the powerful pick in the meta. So yeah, the ban not really needed, as champions like Morgana do also exist that do counter Thresh quite a bit. And yeah, well, they're not really played in the bot lane. Still, it's an option, but not a perfect OP pick. On the other side, we see the Senna versus Ghost. So not only has he played her just yesterday to a great degree, but overall in his career he has been a great Senna player. So yeah, that being banned makes a good lot of sense. A Varus ban on the blue side is a bit strange. So especially after Senna being banned, so Varus obviously being a potent pick in general, but especially versus the Senna, he's regarded as one, if not the best counter pick. So banning it after the Senna is already gone, it's a bit questionable. Then we see here a Renekton ban against Khan. Obviously Renekton with the AP junglers in the meta at the moment, it's quite powerful and he can pressure top lane a bit more than he used to. But again, with tanks being in the meta, yeah, that is still something that can be considered. But we have to say Armut is not really a player that has played a lot of tanks in the past. So yeah, maybe it is his ego or whatever that yeah, maybe is an issue here with this pick. Lucian being banned against Humanoid and against Armut in a sense. Also, yeah, they're making use of the free ban on the blue side. It's not a champion that is super overpowered, but certainly has been rising in priority and has won a lot of games. Yeah, obviously the early and mid game advantage of the champion is quite apparent from laning phase to the mid game fights. Very good power curve, even though the later stages versus tanks he does suffer a bit. Lastly, we see here Leona versus Beryl, one of his more comfortable picks. So yeah, securing a decent bot lane setup for themselves, even though Kaiser usually likes to pick the Leona for himself. We already see here the first pick of the Kaiser, which is very, very strange. So all junglers are open. Yes, there does exist like a triangle of power in the jungle department, or like that is what people make it out to be. I would still say that Rumble is stronger than the other two, but people have made the argument that Rumble loses to Udyr, Udyr loses to Morgana, and Morgana loses to Rumble, which I can certainly see where they're coming from, but I wouldn't agree with that. And overall, on another note, the Kaiser being a first pickable blind AD carry is absolutely not the case. Even with Varus being banned, there are other counters that can come in, and Ghost is not like one-trick Kaiser that wins every game with her. He's a good Kaiser player or a decent Kaiser player, but it's not really like a main champion for Ghost. So yeah, the enormous priority here lets me think that is a pick away from Karzi, which yeah, you could make an argument for that, as he has played her quite a bit and won quite a bit with her. But yeah, I think the priority is a bit yeah, too high on this pick. Then we see here a Nautilus and Udyr pick. So Udyr has already been the more priority pick for Elyoya. So yeah, he's not really too uncomfortable with picking this up here for himself. The Nautilus for Kaiser, yeah, it's a bit strange. On one side, yes, Nautilus versus Kaiser is a decent combination that is being denied, and in teamfights obviously his instant lockdown is more reliable against this short range AD carry. But here with jungler and support versus an AD carry pick, they are not match picking, they're not flex picking, so they're not really trying to conceal what their draft is about. So far we see that they're looking to engage and play forward. Yes, the Kai'Sa is not really punishing that, but Dawankia can look to punish this playstyle with the next 4 champions. Morgana, which is a champion that does punish this playstyle, and overall, as I mentioned in this power triangle, she's a champion that is set out to beat the Udyr, and yeah, well, her Black Shield versus Nautilus, also something, and this is not a pick that we can't see coming in, that's not something we can't predict. So yeah, these double picks here, and it's a bit strange that they do this willingly against the Leona. Lee Sin here also picked up, this is a useful champion here as a flex pick, obviously. Very good 2v2 with the Morgana, or like decent, right? It's not perfect, but it's good. And it's also in a sense a pick away from Armut. But yeah, quite a decent pickup here. Although, while the Morgana is seeking to punish this playstyle for Matt, Lee Sin would be more in line of Kai'Sa, as he's also more of a dive-in champion. So yeah, that's not too perfect. At least both dive champions have the potential to get a Black Shield, so they can't be CC locked. But here we see the Tristana. So this is a first flex pick here, which is made decent in the R4, in the R3 position. You can usually be a bit more bold with your champion pick and then ban out the counters. But choosing to pick a flex pick here makes it so that you can ban out champions for the R4 pick, so that it doesn't get counterpicked in this rotation here. But strangely, Madline is not really looking to do that. They're banning out supports, which is not a bad choice per se. The Alistair double effective here as a ban versus Beryl. But it's triple effective, as I see now. Versus Beryl, he's a very, very strong Alistair player. Versus Nautilus matchup, which is, he takes a good chunk away from Nautilus laning power. And then obviously the Alistair Kai'Sa combo, very old reliable. So yeah, that ban is quite decent. The Rel ban as another support ban is, I'm not really liking it too much. I mean, with the Leona also gone, you ban out 3 of the most popular engaged champions, and then there's also the Nautilus being banned here. So this could make Beryl a bit uncomfortable in his support choice. Let's not forget the Thresh, he's also gone. Yeah, it will be interesting to see if Beryl is looking for a bit more of a traditional pick in the like support or enchanter category, because the next line of engaged champions would be a bit more off meta, like his set or his Maokai from earlier in the split. Maokai obviously getting hit quite a bit, but if it comes to if push comes to shove, maybe that is something that we could see. But I would expect the set pick a bit more here from Beryl, as it's his pick. Well, or like it's not his pick, it's live Genji's live pick, but Beryl obviously has played it quite a lot. So, yeah, on the other side also we see the Gnar being banned. Gnar being banned on the blue side. It's a bit more strange, as he would be a bit more of a better champion here on their side with terrain layout and so on. But obviously they want to have the Lee Sin in the top lane. Like that's maybe something we can assume. And Gnar into Lee Sin, if the Gnar player is good at least, it is quite hard. If the Gnar player is not that great, it's a free lane for Lee Sin. So maybe they assume that Armut is a good Gnar player, which it's one of the few champion he plays. But the Gnar would also be here on theme with the engage, and Gnar and the Orianna being also banned. Yeah, it would be the wombo combo engage, or like decent to great engage that Mad Lions here has with the teamfight comp then. So yeah, Downward Kia here negating the ability for a full wombo comp. So now let's see here what Matt is doing. So they have the Tristana, obviously, that can be a flex for the AD carry or the mid lane position. Both players have played it, and versus the Kai'Sa, it's obviously a very good counter pick that has seen a lot of play in the past. So this would not be that great. I mean, let's talk about this. So, what are the advantages and disadvantages of picking Victor now? So Victor obviously versus the two champions here from Damwon that have shorter range and that look to go in. It's decent in that department, right? Punishing that. Then what is this also being able to do here? Locking in the mid laner means this will be the top lane. So the top lane here, Armut, will get a great matchup, or like can get a great matchup either way, because they are still unsure if this is mid lane Lee Sin or top lane Lee Sin. So these are the two advantages. Now coming to the disadvantages. Firstly, this locks Tristana into the AD carry position, barring any top lane Victor stuff or any shenanigans like that. Then next, Victor with this team comp. So this team comp is now a bit divided in their approach. Tristana is a champion that is a bit more flip, that has a flip, right? Can be very aggressive and can be played backwards. This is a bit unique about her, but Victor obviously a very blue champion that wants to go back, fight backwards. But Udyr and Nautilus, well, they have their CC that can be used somewhat to peel and protect. They are at their strongest, obviously, when they're going forward, right? Dredge lining forward or beer slapping forward, all that good stuff. So they have these three champions that want to go forward, that want to engage and proactively interacting with the enemy. And then they have this one champion now that says, guys, let's go back, let's kite, let's FW up. So yeah, the team is a bit split in the team fight department. And yeah, if we see another like blue top laner versus Lee Sin, for example, whatever, like in the form of a tank, or I don't know, man. In such a scenario, these blue champions would hold back their engaged champions, the Nautilus and their Udyr, which would devalue them quite a bit. Otherwise, if this would be a more aggressive champion, which I would imagine, I mean, like this could be a fucking Wukong or Armut, and then the Victor would be in a bad spot because everyone in his team is running forward and he's like, yeah, like a fucking grandma trying to catch up to them. So yeah, this is a bit of an issue for a pick. So yeah, we have to see how they play it out and how the ban phase here, Pickphase here, further develops. So Damwon here looking for a mid laner, top lane, to like lock in the Lee Sin in one spot, and then get a potential jungler bot laner. What is being hovered here is what I mentioned at the very start. Okay, this is not what I mentioned. With the Rumble being picked up here for the jungle, this could be then Morgana support, right? Morgana is still flexible to do that, and Morgana versus the Nautilus, obviously same line of thought as Morgana into any hook champion in the bot lane, right? Thresh being one of the most known issues here with the Morgana. The Zoe being picked up here, Zoe, if you know it, she's a colorless champion, so she can fit into different drafts and warp them around herself. So this would mean that with this champion here being elected, overall Damwon position, how they approach the team fights and the game state as a whole is being a bit wait a second here, is being shifted a bit. So now they don't have a reliable DPS source coming in from the mid lane in terms of AP damage, but now they have more catch potential, more burst, better terrain scaling, and how they can approach objectives. So yeah, that's Zoe offers quite a lot. Like another example of a champion that really offering a lot of different tools for the team comp would obviously be Azir. That's also one of the reasons why he's so popular, because he is very unique in what he can offer, and the team gets many tools through him. So here Zoe with the Morgana will obviously have a lot of pick potential. but will lack DPS against these like already kinda tankier champions here on Mad Lions. And yeah, if we expect something like Armut's Wukong to come in, yeah, this can be a bit sticky getting through the tanks, especially considering that Kai'Sa has short range, and yeah, they just need to point and click on her to lock her up, and they also don't have much protection besides a black shield. The set support coming in here, I mean, it could also be like set top lane, Lee Sin mid lane, whatever shenanigans could come in here, like Lee Sin jungle or whatever. Obviously we don't know yet, but I'll assume this is set support into Nautilus. It's quite interesting for the 1v1 of supports. Obviously set is winning, but if we take in the AD carries, Tristana obviously with Nautilus level 2, that is very, very strong, depending on how the junglers need leash and don't need leash, which correlates then to earlier and later level 2. Morgana obviously doesn't need a leash, so yeah, in most cases the Damwon Kia bot lane here should be able to get to the wave first, which yeah, helps them quite a lot, because on the level 2 it would be a bit more like it would be a bit dicey. But overall in the game, Set is one of the more reliable, or like the first tools of Peel. Yes, they have Morgana Black Shield, but that can be bursted down quite easily in some cases. Now with the Lee Sin kick and the Set ultimate, they begin to get some protection for the Zoe and the Kai'Sa to just yeah, pull the targets here away. Again, it's a bit unreliable, as yeah, Set would mean to sacrifice himself in some spots, so it's not perfect. But I mean, it's Matt's strategy to force the Set pick. We have talked about Barrel's champion pool and all these support bans coming in. We predicted the set pick, so Mad Lions obviously were prepared for it, and yeah, maybe this is the whole baseline for their strategy: get the set support. That can be quite difficult to operate in many game states that are not really all that chaotic and all that brawlery. And yeah, also before we talk about both team comps versus each other, for the last pick. So this is a Shen. So Shen versus Lee Sin top lane. That's quite interesting. I'll assume that Shen is doing completely fine. It can be a bit annoying for him, considering that it's red side Shen, but that should still be fine. I'm not really sure like for what he needs as ultimate in the earlier stages, unless Mad Lions is hard focusing bot, which yeah, might be their strategy. Some analysts and commentators have commented on Ghost and Barrel performing a bit shaky in the laning phase. So maybe here Mad Lions wants to double that down with attacking Barrel's champion pool, counter picking the AD carry matchup, and then getting Armut down there with the level 6 from Shen and completely dismantle Damwon Kia's bot lane. That should be their game plan here. Then later on, obviously, Shen with 2 globals is yeah, a bit of a threat in the side lane, but Damwon Kia is not really minding the side lane too much, as Lee Sin can't really offer too much in the standard standoffs. It's not really a champion needed by the team, so he can answer Shen in the side lane. Obviously, in these standoffs, Damwon Kia has a bit of a range advantage with the Zoe and the Morgana. But overall in the fights, this will be another dive addition on an Udyr, on a Nautilus, right? Follow up with his ult and then taunt. But there's also not really much of a backline for Damwon Kia, right? Kai'Sa obviously looking, in this case here, not to kill the tanks. This is not really where she excels mostly, especially in the mid game, where like she doesn't have 6 items. She is obviously targeting these 2 here, which will be difficult. But I think that's the problem with Kai'Sa. So the only real backliner will be the Zoe. and partially the Morgana, but Morgana, right, in the team fights, she's not really doing all too much, right? It's just her clear speed that is super insane. Other than that, not doing too much. That's why also I'm a bit more of a fan of the Rumble. So overall here, evaluating both team comps strengths, I would give it the edge to Mad Lions. They have a clear game plan, they have a clear win condition, right? Funnel the Tristana and then completely wreck down one Kia. They have abilities with their tanks and with their CC to disrupt the main DPS source of Damwon Kia, namely Ghost on the Kai'Sa. And they also have the ability to block the Qs or the skill shots coming in from ShowMaker and Canyon. They might have some issues here with the early aggression that Lee Sin can offer in the top lane, but Chen is a quite safe laner, and yeah, if he manages his W correctly, and even landing EQ combos can win trades in the top lane. Oh yeah, covering this. They should have a great bot lane, they should have a decent top lane. The jungle matchup 1v1 will be a bit more in Damwon Kia's favor, even ignoring that Canyon is playing. That's not really what I'm factoring in here. And then mid lane, obviously, Zoe will have a bit of a pressure point here versus the Victor, the level 9. But yeah, that's not really a major point. She doesn't really have kill threat or anything like that. But she will have the ability to support Canyon a bit more, which will be interesting and helpful. But overall, yeah, Damwon Kia obviously have drafted quite a poor comp here. It's very solo queue-esque and like that also a bit difficult to execute. They really need to have crazy fights and chaos skirmishes here and there, where obviously champions like Lee Sin, like the Zoe, like the Set, and even the Kai'Sa in some extent can really profit and make use of that. But yeah, these are the strategies and game plans for each comp. Again, I would give the edge here to Mad Lions. They have either draft. I've not watched the game yet, so yeah, I will do that afterwards. But yeah, let's go to the end screen here. So again, really exciting now. We have to wait and see if Mad Lion can make use of that advantage they got from the draft phase. And yeah, maybe secure the second place. But that's it for today. Thank you again for coming by here. Post down in the comments if you have any drafts and games that I should cover in the future. And yeah, we see each other tomorrow with more daily MSI content as mentioned at the start. But yeah, maybe hit up the video with a thumbs up if you liked what I talked about. And maybe consider subscribing to not miss out on future content, again, daily, now with MSI. So, that's it. Wish you all a great time. Till tomorrow.